Manhood, brought you in part by Reboot and Solomon's Bespoke.
This is Manhood, and we're discussing another big topic here today. Success is a number of failures, and I want to get straight into it with no sort of old talk from me on this one. To my right, Johanse Ayodike, Behavior Change Consultant. To his right, Akeal Hosein, all-rounder, the number one cricketer in the world. That's a big one. Let that sink in. A Trinbagonian is the number one cricketer in the world right now at bowling. So congratulations, Akeal.
Thank you.
And to his right, Luke Quamina, motivational speaker, and I like to say a member of my inner circle. You know, it's always a pleasure to have you, Luke.
Of course.
So success are a number of failures. There's a lot to ruminate and speak about with regards to that. Like, what does that always mean? Because we always think of success, and we think of the decision that someone made to lead them to that, and we don't see the choices that they had to make at that point to take them to that decision, or we don't see the number of failures for them to get there.
Yeah.
All we do is, in some cases, celebrate the success. Sometimes we look at it as luck and call it all sorts of other names, but really and truly, it's on the back of a number of failures. And it's not success or failure. Success is actually part of failure. Well, failure is actually part of success.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a good opportunity. I myself don't know Akeal's full story. So I was coming here and I said it would be a good opportunity because I think of many young sport, players, whether male or female, is going to see this.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we don't follow, what is the proverbial truth that a prophet is with honor except be in his own city, state, and country. And sometimes we fall to that where we don't honor our own. So it's a big congratulations to you, bro. How old are you now?
31.
31. To accomplish that in your 30s, most people still trying to figure out who they are, is a massive accomplishment. And we should be making, I agree with you, a whole lot more noise than that. But I wanted to hear the genesis of your story. I played cricket for a while, national as well, under 17, under 19. But somebody always plays a role in discovering that probably a talent is a little bit ahead of everybody that's playing in the playground. So I wanted to know your story and who was that person for you?
I felt like that person. We still chat a lot today. He's like a dad to me. I think that first person would definitely be someone by the name of Paul Clark. And I'm pretty sure mentioning that word, that name, all the cricketers in Trinidad and Tobago probably know him.
Wow.
He was or is like a father to even the greats gone by, Brian Lara, Pollard, Bravo. He was sort of that person who was in everyone's corner and pushing players, recognizing talents, trying to move players around to get them in the best place or best schools for them to continue and excel in their career. So I would say definitely Paul Clark.
Yeah,
I remember one time I was in primary school and he took me to play for a secondary school, which is, it was not allowed, but he had his ways of doing things. But by all means, it was, to make sure that players could excel to their best, to reach their highest.
What does success mean to you, and what is that story? Because one of the things that when we discussed coming on the show was about where you come from and the rise out of that. Because you could have easily said, hey, I'm just going to adjust to my environment and work to suit. And not only did you come out of that environment, and also maybe if you want to discuss the manner in which you came out, but how you became Akeal Hosein that we know today. And again, it wasn't luck. It wasn't an easy road. And things could have easily gone left instead of right.
I think apart from cricket, I think the person that was responsible for developing the man that I am today, I would definitely say my dad. He was not a very strict parent, someone who tells you, you have to do this or you have to do that. But I think the way he just went about, getting across his message, getting across, how you should live life and the choices that you should make, he made it easy for me. Even though the minute I stepped out my front door, I know there were a lot of distractions. I felt like the message that I was getting from my dad and the mentorship and the guidance, and actually seeing him doing it as well, was enough for me to go out there and say, listen, this is exactly what I want. This is the road I want to go down. It could have a million other distractions, but I just think that the way he guided me made it a million times easier for me to say, okay, listen, this is what I want.
Akeal, what was the message? You said the message that he communicated to you. What was that message?
It's so hard to pinpoint one, but just the way he went about, being a father to us. I mean, you sit back and you realize your dad is working 2 jobs just to make sure that you can be comfortable. And when he comes home, he's still trying to put in time with you. He's trying to support you in every way, whether it means giving you funds to go to training or go to cricket. But then he's not always present at the matches because of, what he has to do to provide for his family.
Right.
So did you realize that the effort and the sacrifice he was putting in at the time, or was it in hindsight?
No, for me,
Because, a lot of times we say that and we look at all that they've done, but at the time you're like, I just want these shoes.
Yeah.
Or I just want this.
Yeah.
no, for me, I understood right away. I'll be honest, you turn up at matches and you see, whether it was under 13, under 15, under 17s, at that age, parents are fully on board in terms of they have to bring their kids. They would stay there, you would have your parents in your corner at the matches or at training. And for me and a couple other boys, that was a no-show for us. But we knew the reason why. We know that, we didn't get that start, that other people had. And even, I remember one time I used to go to Harvard coaching school. And every year I go there, they would put me in a really lower category in terms of training. And they would put me in like all the basics, because when I was young, I was quite short. So they would always just use that and say, listen, he's not ready to compete with the older guys. And every time I'd go back home and I'd tell my dad, I said, why they keep putting me here? First year, okay, no problem, all the basics. Second year, same thing. So it was kind of frustrating.
You want to be net 1.
Yeah, yes. So
it was Harvard as well.
It was kind of frustrating. And then, obviously Harvard didn't have the facilities. When rain fall, that's it. And at one point I sat back and I said, you know what? I need to do something different, because I could remember, my dad opening his wallet and taking out his last $10 and giving me to go to training.
To travel.
But then I turn up to training and then it's raining. So, training squash. And for me, I saw that as, it's nobody else. It's nobody's fault. It's nature. Rain has to fall. But I felt like there's a wasted opportunity there that my dad provided, giving me funds to go to training. And that sort of helped me to, come up with making a decision where I need to be somewhere that whenever my dad takes his last, I have to make the best of it.
Strong.
So that made me, head towards Queen's Park. And that is where Paul Clark, he took me as well. I remember when I went there, it was about $520 or something to sign up as a Colt, just to be a part of the coaching clinic. And that would have been a huge sum for my dad. And, we call him Pops. Paul Clark, we call him Pops. And he signed me up, he paid for everything. And then, that was the start for me. I remember there was same separation as well. There were younger kids in the indoors and the older kids in the outdoors. And within 10 minutes, I bowled a little bit and then I went to bat. And then one of the coaches, he called me. So I thought I did something wrong. So he said, come. So I approached him and I thought like, maybe I did something wrong. I was in trouble. And he said, "You don't belong here. Go outside. You need to go outside with the older guys." And that's where it started for me in Queen's Park. And I remember, one day just chilling at home, and in those days, the mailman or mailwoman, they would slide the mail under your door. And I opened a mail, and it said, Queen's Park wrote me a letter, and they said, "You don't worry about anything. You don't have to study about paying, or just show up."
Wow.
So that was the start for me with Queen's Park.
Did you ever ask Paul Clark why, and like why you and what he saw? It was obvious, but
I don't. I never asked him, but
If you was to assume, because you know in yourself too, what do you think he saw? Now, I know he's not here to say it exact, but what do you think he saw?
that man has so much vision.
Yeah, let me jump in here because I know him and I've been under him as well. There are people sent to launch other people's potential. That's who he is. He has the perspective, and this is something a leader has to carry, because what I'm enjoying about this story so much is you're seeing the power of manhood, the male influence in society. Father, Paul Clark, who was like a father. Coach, identifying potential. It's all men in leadership positions seeing the potential of somebody and saying, "I see what you have," and they're also creating opportunities for this potential to be maximized. So if you know, and he'll be a great interview, Mr. Clark, I'll tell you why, in the sense of he in one sense, you can't say he has favorites because this man has raised a lot of greatness in this country.
Yeah.
I heard they respect the Mr. Clark. He didn't say Paul. Like
Right. So he's gifted to see potential. And I'll tell you this: he sees it even before you see it in yourself. Because I remember there was a hype at one time. Once Brian started to break records, my father said, "You're going to Harvard." That's why I went to Harvard.
Yeah.
You have to get to Harvard. And Leonard at Curtin was my coaches there. And these are faithful men who will sit down every day and make you do forward defensive like 25, 50 times, same shot all the time. And they will sit down there really training your mind. But that's the power of experience, because sometimes, we can't throw away the old. What the old brings to the table is the value of seeing what you couldn't see in yourself. And then introducing you, and I'm sure you can talk about this. Experience is really people who failed and continued and figured out a way how this thing can work.
Yep.
And it's coming to the young potential without experience and creating opportunity and saying, let's put this one in this track for his growth. And look where he is today, number one.
So there's a Japanese proverb that I want to share, because when we want to talk about success,
Yeah.
is a number of failures. And in that Japanese proverb, I'm going to paraphrase it in a way, just to say that if you get on the wrong train, get off at the nearest station, because the longer you stay on that train, right, is the harder the return trip will be, right? And I'm saying that in so many instances, we go down a particular road, or we have friends, family who may be leading us down a certain path, and to stay on is comfortable, to be in that environment is comfortable, and I don't want to. I'm not in any way stating that the upbringing was such, but as a young boy, surely there are other ways. Because it would take you away and we spoke about it on a show just the other day, where we spoke about restrictions, the restrictions that you have, or the things that you have to give up to be an Akeal Hosein. When you're seeing your friends, I mean, at 31, I had to laugh when he said, in those days, I was like,
The other day.
it was just the other day, right? But just to say that you could have taken a different road. You could have even gone into the partying environment, as we see so many other cricketers or even sports people do. And yet still here today, you sit here as the number one bowler in the world. Talk me through that. Talk me through living in Laventille, leaving Laventille, and just staying focused?
So another instance with this name might be popular at the end of the show by the amount of times we use it. But when I was when I was writing exams and you had to put down your secondary school choices, Paul Clark was filling out the stuff, the information for me. So when he got to writing down my address, he wrote down something else. So I stood there and I was like, but that's not my address. So he said, don't worry, you'll understand soon. He didn't explain it there and then, but a little while after he said, had you put down Laventille, you would not get your first choice. And that's where the message started to stick in your head that, hey, listen, it's slowly becoming you against the world to get out of this situation, because once you're from there, nobody wanted any dealings with you. That's how it came across, and that's how it comes across for a lot of people living in that area. And hopefully pretty soon I'm trying to, put a stop to that, because at the end of the day, if you're backing these people in a corner or you put them in a hole with very little ways of getting out, it's going to take them very long. Whereas if there are a lot of hands who are standing outside of this hole who can easily put their hands in and help these people. So that's something I'm trying to work on. But I think there and then is where I started to understand that, hey, listen, it's going to be a challenge, and this is probably one of the ways that I can get myself out and get my family out of that environment as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How did your parents protect? So you could live there, but you could think differently. I do believe that. We could live on an island and still think global in business. You're not coming out to sell to Trinis, you're coming out to sell to the world. So what helped your thinking? Though I was living in Laventille, how did you believe that one day your name could be on that billboard, you could be on the screen? Was it your parents? Was it just the coaching, the cricket? Was it your own thinking, your own motivation? What still allowed you to believe that a good thing can come out of Laventille?
I would say it's sort of mixed, I would say. But if I was to put it in my own words, I felt like, as I said before, just the way my dad went about things. And a main factor is that he never really block you off. That made you feel like, why is he blocking me off from this? And sometimes you might get a little curious and want to go find out. I think it was a situation where he left everything open. And you can see and try and understand and come up with the best way to go about life. So it was not a case where he said, nah, I don't want you playing sports. You have to be a doctor.
As so many people do, immediately if it's not academics, I don't want you doing this. That's not the route for you.
Or he was like, we living in a rough area. I don't want you outside. I don't want you outside liming or anything like that. He didn't do any of those things. He just left it normal. We had our conversations. He made it very open. He said, listen, you can come and conversate with anything. So it was a level of freedom where you could make your own decisions. And as I said, for me, it was just in that direction based on, what I kind of copied from my father. Just seeing him there trying to provide for everyone else. And I saw it as a way, that, listen, this could be my way out. And I didn't really, when you're living in the hood, you're exposed to all the sports. You come outside, guys hook up a basketball net on the tree, playing football, you're playing cricket. So we played multiple sports, but I felt for me that, cricket was just it. And at that time, as a youngster growing up, Darren Cruikshank lived in the area as well. And I felt like his story was one that sort of wanted me to say, listen, I want to be a part of that. I remember coming outside and I see same Pops pull up with his car and Crookshank going outside with a massive cricket bag and a suitcase. So I'm like, where are you going? And you know, he was going abroad to play cricket, and the whole idea and the whole story behind it, just, I was amazed, and I was like, you know, I want to be a part of that. You want to get opportunity to go to our next country, you want to travel, you want to do something that you love doing. And that's where I said, you know what, I want to align myself in that direction. And that's, I feel like that's where, you know, Pops started to take me and carry me around. And even, as I said, one day he came and he picked me up, and I'm a primary school student, and you know, Belmont have a match going on, and he carried me. And those days I was like, what, 8, 9, and these are like under 13, under 14, and he said, no, come, you got enough to play. Whatever he did, you know, he got me and I played the match. But yeah, I felt like Darren Crookshanks, because he was ahead of me, and just seeing him being able to live that kind of life, and you know, enjoy what he's doing and getting the opportunity to tour the country, tour the world. I wanted that same vision for myself.
So we need to go to a break, but when we come back, I want us to have a further discussion on another famous, well, 2 famous cricketers who helped you out of a situation to allow you to then even further spread your wings. Wow. So we're taking a short break. Success is a number of failures.
This is Manhood, and we're discussing success is a number of failures. I want to jump straight into, you know, me being able to move out of Laventille. So from the more cricket perspective, before I went off to under 19, Trinidad under 19, you know, you're playing club level and at school level. And it was there that I had my first sort of interaction with Kyron Pollard. And he said, he came across, obviously these guys follow a lot of cricket, and he came across and he said, continue the good work, and as long as you stay on the right path and you give it your all, give it your best, I would look after you. So he sorted out, you know, all my equipment and stuff like that, from under 19. Because, you know, in those days, if you're not financially stable or well off, or you have your parents to do it, it's a little difficult for, you know, a teenager to go and buy cricket equipment. So he started taking care of that. And then, you know, even Sunil Narayan, when my area became hot in terms of, obviously, there's a lot of violence in that area. At the time, it was difficult, you know, moving around, traveling and stuff like that. And he said, you know what, I have an apartment here you can come across, you could rent. And whatever figure the rent was, that wasn't his concern. He was like, you know what, pay what you can, but let's get you out of that area. So, you know, I'm very thankful for those two guys. Even today, I still, you know, let them know what part they played in my lives. And I still go to these guys for advice on cricket or, you know, off the field. That's how important these 2 guys, you know, are in my life. And
you know, we're hearing about manhood. And as you mentioned just now, here's another 2. All of these people seeing something in Akeal. Father, Pops, Paul Clark, the coaches, Kyron Pollard, who colleagues now, Sunil Narayan, all before you were Akeal Hosein in this current status. So I really come back to the question, you know, what is it you think all of these people saw in you, or you now see in yourself as a message now to other youngsters? who may be feeling in a particular way, are they good enough? Are they enough?
I think the first thing that people would look for is if you have that hunger in you.
Strong.
Like, it's easy to pull up somewhere and you just see a bunch of people playing. But I feel like if people are to really get involved, they would sort of zone in on narrowing on like, okay, what is he doing different from the others? You might not be the most talented, but guess what? You're working as hard as, or you working even harder than the others, and that right there might be the reason why somebody could come on board and say, you know what, I would help. Or someone might say, I came from that same sort of background, that same sort of living conditions. Polly came from Maloney, you know. So these little things is why people will, you know, sort of jump on board, because, as I said, they're much older than me, so they sort of been there, done that. So it's, if they see a similar pattern, you know, that's the opportunity that, you know, they would take to try and jump on board and help someone's pathway be a little smoother than them. Because I feel like sometimes, you know, elders think that, well, I went through it this way and you had to go through that.
Same way.
And I feel like that is just a waste of time. You're just wasting someone's time. Like, it have calculators now. Why am I going to take umpteenth amount of times where I can just type in on a calculator, let's just say 2 + 2 is 4. Why am I going to go so and take long? Yeah. It's right there.
The process.
Yeah.
The process.
So I feel
want to
like
jump in
we
and
don't
say
need
something
to stop that.
that I pick up. I don't know him a long time. But there's something that encourages coaches, and that's coachability.
Mm-hmm.
To mold clay, the clay has to be soft. But it can't be too soft. It has to take impressions. Some people's life are not successful because they're not moldable. When somebody holds wisdom or experience and they start giving him advice, I guarantee you it's because he has a disposition of humility, and you will see them applying what was told. That is how somebody wants to coach you more. There are a lot of people who are talented, but they lack the humility to be coached.
There's our word again, Johan.
Well, I'm now listening to
humility,
it. You know, and why? Because I asked you and then Robert asked, in terms of what you think they saw. Now, for me, I asked that question because even though, and as you said, a mentor could see something that you don't have, but I think it's important for each person to at least see something, because it's something you could identify in yourself, even though it may be different from other people. Something you could identify in yourself that, hey, this is something that whether you got it from your dad or wherever, or it was inspiration. So what's that? Even if it's one thing, you don't have to list more than one.
I would say 2 things. I would say the talent and hunger. Yeah.
Hunger.
And I always used to ask questions. It might not have been the right question, or you might not phrase it properly, but it was questions along the lines of, how could I get better?
Very good.
Or I would always ask their experiences. Like, just, it might not be like, you know, how to do something, but more of like just asking like random things, like, how is another country? Or how did you feel playing on the same cricket ground with Sachin Tendulkar? I remember I asked Paula that, and he said he couldn't really explain it, you know, at the time, walking on the cricket pitch, walking on the field with Sachin Tendulkar. But he said that what he told himself is that, listen, he would let all those feelings kick in after, when he came off the field, because on the field, I'm good enough
to be on the field with
him.
him.
On the field sharing that same sort of situation with him. Yes, he was in awe, but I'm good enough with humans. If you cut me, it's the same blood. But when he came off the field is where he said, you know, wow, I was just on a cricket field with with a legend of the game.
Imagine, sometimes they tell children, why I like to ask so much questions? Why always so inquisitive? And think about it
hunger.
as a bad thing. No?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm glad you raised that because, and even from some of the other shows, we realize that allowing a child, and I'm using child loosely now, child ought to be age, because you could be an adult if you don't have knowledge, you're a child in certain things. Allowing a child freedom, because that's something you also said, that your father allowed you the freedom to move around. He gave you the advice, but he allowed you freedom. And so that theme of freedom, and then guidance, and then even telling you about that experience with Sachin, it sounded like he was being vulnerable, he's being honest.
Yeah.
So honesty and freedom, but that freedom, and we spoke about it even in our last show when you was talking about your son and allowing your son and your child to spread their wings so you could at least experience different things. So I'm really grateful. And look, you started saying it, and Robert, you said it about understanding the value of our father now, the value of having men in life, because Pops is our father too.
So hence he
thanks
named
for
Pops.
He provided that sense of leadership.
But we had a chat, and one thing you said, and I want us to talk about it, because as much as we are here, one, respecting each other, but also in congratulating you on your achievement, that Trinidad and Tobago on a whole, we were discussing, do you feel that people recognize the accomplishment? And one of the things that you said that really impacted, and as a part of discussion here today, is you said, people don't understand, we don't go out there to fail. And that's huge, that you're human, and that every time you go out there, you train, you do what is necessary. You're not going out there to get 44 on you. You're not going out there to get out for duck. All of these different things. You're not going out to miss a catch, but it happens. And I always remember Kobe Bryant, I think it was one particular basketball match, and he had 3 shots to take, and he missed all 3 shots. And afterwards, the commentator came up to him and said, hey, how you feeling about that, like, missing those shots, and asked him for the whole, expecting a totally different response. And he said, basically he was trying to show that he learned something, and he now knows what not to do. So he looked at those, what people perceived as failures, and to him it was just another step towards success and to ensuring 100% maybe achievement the next time around. And I know we always say, you're as good as your last performance, but for lack of a better term, happens.
Yeah. Something, I don't know if this is a hard question, but I'm talking future now, Akeal and sports and other players that are looking. What needs to happen in our region as far as infrastructure and leadership? Because all sports, there's sports and the business of sports. What needs to happen for us to keep developing players, but also leaders for the industry and the sport, so we can have longevity of talent and sustainability of success? Because now I realize there's a trend where some of the larger nations are pulling on our potential for leadership roles, pulling them on the outside. They're playing and probably adding value to players in other leagues. No problem. The world is a global village. But what is the plan for our region and how we are capitalizing on this type of talent to add to the leadership for the future, the infrastructure for sports? What have you observed out there as it relates to here, and how can we grow? Because I could see that as a failure to talent if we don't start thinking like that.
I think it all goes back to what you first said. I feel as though we don't appreciate our own enough. I could give you another story with a guy like Pollard. I heard from Darren Bravo was sharing this story. They were at an airport, probably somewhere in India. And, apparently they had back-to-back flights or something like that, so they were quite hungry. So they just sat down to eat. And this guy stood next to them. He was shocked, and he basically froze. And then he asked Polly for a photo, and Polly said, I'm eating after when I'm finished. And the guy was there begging his life away. He said, please, I have a flight to catch now. Can I have a photo? So he didn't really get through the photo. You know what the guy asked for? He said, okay, can I just touch your hand like that? And Paulie just did that. And that was enough for that guy. But it just goes to show and what we see, how, other countries appreciate you, first of all, obviously, for your talent, and then the person that you are as well. And I feel like we don't appreciate our own. So that's why, you would see people take opportunities abroad. And then infrastructure as well. I feel like we kind of just expect someone to come up and be great at 19 or 20. We just expect that person to figure it out on their own. And then when you reach 20, 21, we say, okay, let's jump on board and help you. So I feel like we've moved away from grassroots programs. And that's something that has to be implemented and sort of set up throughout the country. Because sometimes there's a lot of talent in some of these areas that people are afraid to put their hands in it. I'm pretty sure somewhere along you guys' lives, you all sat on the block talking and you said, boss, this man has so much talent. This man has so much skill. But then at the end of the day, that's where it just remained right there. It didn't go anywhere else. So I feel like
because they didn't have a father or a pops like yourself.
They didn't have
who
anybody.
could then say, another person will say, hey, you're an academic. Put down that. Go and study your books. Don't talk no crap here about doing any of these things.
They had nobody to push them. And then also, it's kind of, I feel like the people who have gotten success have to understand that, hey, listen, this is what happened to me. What can I do for the next generation so it can be easier for them? We have to come back into the setup and help the younger ones. Because I feel like in the Caribbean, in terms of from sport, these young and upcoming catch on quicker when the person who's giving them the information is one, somebody who's been there, done that. Two, somebody who is not as far off in their generation as well. And this is what they would gravitate to quicker. I'm not saying you can get somebody else in a totally different field but I feel like there's ways that you can get through to younger people quicker. And as I say, it's a huge responsibility on us to come back. Even if we do have to be there physically all the time because of, our...
don't forget where you come from, kind of thing. Like you said, you want to go back.
We have to come back. We have to come back and at least set up or lend advice to the people who's on the ground often and will be in charge of running the programs and stuff like that. We have to sort of...
Why use that word have to? Why do they have to do it?
I feel like if you want betterment and if you felt a particular way growing up and going through what you went through and you don't want someone else to go through that, then I feel like it's a have to.
Duty.
You said it once, Luke, to me, in a discussion where it's if servitude is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. And in leadership, which you guys are having a leadership role, and as Luke mentioned, we are looking for leaders to take us to that next frontier, keep cricket alive, keep sport, keep in whatever discipline we use in cricket, but it as one term, but we're talking in general here because its success is a number of failures in all respects. And one thing I want before we go to the break, Akeal, is many times, as we said before, people only see where you're at now. And some people deem it as luck. Even people hearing this story, they might say, okay, well, you were lucky that you had a dad like that, or you were lucky that you had pops, or you were lucky that Kyron Pollard came and said this to you. But they don't see where you had other choices. They don't see where you had to have that clarity of vision. That, as we talk about, as a good friend of mine wrote in his book, Dreaming in the Dark. They don't see those moments. And yet, and a lot of times when they're up, like in discussions like now, you hear people say, just do this and do that. And someone listening is going to go, yeah, you could say that now. It's easy for you to say that, but many people don't achieve. I want you to take us through some of those moments, some of those failures, and not all of them did you find a way out. Somebody walked alongside you, and in some of those ways, you found a way out to now become Akeal Hosein.
Well, I wouldn't call it a failure for this one, but I felt like just living in that area was a huge backstep for me. Where I'd be getting to training, being involved in a better circle that you might start thinking differently, speaking differently, start wanting different things in life, getting better guidance. I feel like just by living in that area, I was, I was before the starting line, so to speak.
So just to make it a bit clearer, did you always have that vision that I am going to be the best? You always had that support, like a Karen Pollard coming up to you and saying, stick there, because there would be times that you were sidelined, that there were people around you at that time, as you were nurturing that talent, that were better than you. And I don't know, a certain element of ridicule or competitive peacock,
I felt
the crowds.
Yeah, I had people in my corner who would, pop in and ask how things go and give you that motivation. But I felt like the first motivation came from within. Like, I told myself that no matter what it takes, this is what I want, and this is going to happen. I'm going to get what I want.
Why? Why you wanted that?
Because one, it was doing what I love, and two, it was a way out, not just for me, but for my family. And also, it was a way to, prove people wrong that, listen, not just because I'm from Laventille, you could spit on me. Or you could just watch me up and down, or watch me cut eye, or watch me a particular way, I'm not good enough. I could stand in the same room with you, or I could stand in a room maybe higher than you. So it had its little motivations that, I pieced together myself. And as I said, there were a lot of challenges. I remember, even there was a particular challenge that I don't even know how to share it.
With words.
Or even in this forum here.
This is the forum.
But I had a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I had a lot of challenges. And I had to find ways on my own. And, thankfully I had, people who made my circle better and helped me to start thinking better. And I felt like that move to Queen's Park is where it slowly started to, you mix and mingle with different people. And then the same pops again moved me from different schools. And I remember coming home to my dad, and again, he didn't force anything on me. I said, I was playing a match against Fatima, and the principal walked across, Mr. Anthony Garcia. He walked across. I didn't know who it was. And he came and he said, would you like to come to Fatima? I didn't know who it was. So I was listening to him, and I carried the message home to my dad, and he said, I think you should go. He didn't say you have to go. He said, I think you should go. And then he started explaining, why. Because my dad went to CIC. I never asked him a lot of questions about his, background in terms of school and whatnot. But my dad was very open. I remember my dad giving us stories where in them, how they call it, break beach or break beach, or however they call it. Yeah. My dad was open, and he said, listen, I think you should go. I think, and then he started listing, what it could do for you. And it was a hard choice for me. I remember I registered in Fatima, and I still going to school in Success Laventille for a week. And Pops called me and he said, boss, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He said, why are you still going to school in Success? I said, Pops, I don't know. But he took myself and another guy by the name of Christian Herrera. Christian is actually in the U.S. Navy now. He took us there, so at the time, everybody wanted to go to Tranquility. Because that's where all the stories was, you know. Marlon Barkley, you know, Dwayne Bravo, Crookshank, Petrock Nicholas, all the guys. That was the top school, right? So everybody was like, right, boy, we want to go there, we want to go there. Okay, Christian passed at Belmont, I passed for Success Lavantel. So Pop said he going to get us a transfer. So we going down in the ministry there, me and Christian real high-fiving, you know, thing. We're gonna take Tranquil forward now, and these men going, so we go, sign up, and Pops didn't say nothing. He said, don't worry, you'll get through. And next couple days after, he telling us, meet him so place. And so we said, what? So carry us, we go on in Fatima. We sit down in the principal office. And Pop said, I just had to talk to this guy. Going in the room talking to the principal. We don't know what's going on. And we watching Fatima and watching around like, this school boring. But
you study Tranquil.
we set on Tranquil.
Vibes.
And we like, well, our Pops come out of the room. When we walking out now, right, there's all a new school. So we said, what are you talking about? You're going to come to the school now? Me and Christian watching, you joking? And he was serious. So we were fortunate enough to, and I feel like once you think positive, that's when positive things happen to you and positive people come into your circle. And that was always me and Christian mindset. And that sort of opened up doors for, you know, good things to happen. So that was one way we had help. But I feel like for me to find help on my own, like, or sort of do it on my own, I had to be dedicated. I remember from even a school perspective, I made the decision to, you know, stay at one of my friends' home for a month. I stayed at the Scots home for a month just before CXE. So that was a decision that I made, you know, to also come out good on the academic side. Fortunately, I did do decent, I would say. I came out with 5 passes, where most of the teachers probably didn't believe in me. So I said, you know, listen, I have to make this sacrifice to, you know, get some sort of results. So there were ways like saving whatever funds I had, you know, to make sure that you have funds to at least travel to and from home. And so there was some stuff that I did on my own to make sure that you could achieve your dream.
Excellent.
As well as, you know, getting some help from people outside as well.
Okay. Excellent.
Success is a number of failures. You know, one of the things in that entire story that struck me is it went from you could make the choice to your dad then taking charge in that particular instance to make a choice for you that then you now realize once again was, in hindsight, possibly the best thing that would have happened to you at that stage. And it's not lost in the fact that it was Brian Lara School as well. But we need to take a short break. Success is a number of failures.
Welcome back to Manhood, where we're talking about failure as a component of, you know, your success story. Akeal, I want to ask you something about rejection when it comes to talent. I think it's John Maxwell wrote a book called Talent is Not Enough. But I know there are a lot of young people who will see this. How do you face rejection even though you know you're talented, you work hard, you go for a trial, and you're waiting for the result to be posted somewhere in the newspaper, and you don't see a name, or you get put on a reserve, or even they're expecting to play this game or to open the bowling or to do this, and you realize a decision is being made about your life, and it's not the decision that you want. So there's a sense of rejection. How have you gone through that, and who has helped you to think the right way in facing rejection?
I had a lot of rejection there. But I feel as though I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy to deal with, and at times it can push you further away from the sport. It can lead, or it led players to not play the sport anymore, or it can push you or make you take longer to achieve what you're actually trying to achieve. I remember there were times when I was being rejected, and as I say, I'm going to ask questions. I want to know why. I want to know, is it something I am doing that I need to do better? So I would always ask questions. And I think the problem that I faced is when I started asking questions, there was no logical answer. I was doing everything in my control to be selected, whether it be discipline, whether it be punctuality, whether it be performance. I was doing that. And then I was like, okay, what's the reason? And in sport, there would always be favorites, favoritism, you name it. There's all of that would make you not be chosen for whatever reasons. But like I said, for me, I know what I wanted, and I felt like I'm being put in a situation that is going to hamper me accomplishing what I'm trying to get. So I'm going to ask you questions. I am trying to make this my job, and this is my dream. This is my life. I want to know what is going on. What do I need to do better to have this situation better? And it made me bitter, I would say. I got bitter. I got angry. But it never pushed aside my performances. My performances was always good.
Okay.
It got me bitter when elders, came and they said, don't study that, control. I was like, listen, I don't want to hear that. I am fed up of hearing that. I need answers now because time is just passing. And in sport, you have a very short shelf life. I'm like, listen, don't tell me I have to worry about this. I need to know what is the reason. And I wasn't getting the answers. And I just kept breaking down the door. But it's very frustrating to deal with, especially if you're dealing with it on your own. And I don't think there's a greater setback that anyone has faced to this date in the country when you hear Sunil Narayan's story. He was like, listen, he carried water for years for Trinidad. This man would play in trial matches and get all 10 wickets. All 10 wickets and couldn't play. So when you hear those kind of stories, makes you sit back and say, well, nah man, me ain't going through nothing. If this man could tote water for years. So again, me asking questions, these guys are open to sharing as well, because I felt like I always asked the questions that could make me make my pathway easier. So I'd ask those questions: how you dealt with failures, how you dealt with facing this bowler, how you felt with, batting at this particular position, how you felt with every time you bat, you're getting this sort of man on your shoulder telling you, okay, do this at this particular time, how you dealt with all those things. So I was always asking questions to make me a better player ahead of time, so to speak.
What was one of Sunil's responses?
Boy, if you watch how this man does operate, he's operate like a lot of things doesn't bother him. He just, at the end of the day, people could tell you what. People could tell you how they dealt with it, but you have to find your way how to deal with these blocks, these stumbling blocks. And we didn't really get, he just kept at it. He kept at it. But if you starting to ask all these questions and all these things, just make sure you're keeping your performances up. So it's only a matter of time. And I remember that's one of the things Pollard said to me. He said, nothing happens before it's time. He said, jump high, jump low. What is for you is for you. And nobody could take that away from you.
That's
And I
good.
felt like that was that Sunil story and what Polly said kind of just, that is what calmed me down. I was really fed up with people telling me I was like, I don't even want to hear all of that BS. You slowing me down. Why you slowing me down?
No.
Do not slow me down.
No,
And those two
Akeal.
stories is what kind of
Mm-hmm.
just make me say, you know what, boy? I'm not going to give them a chance in terms of my performances, but let me just look at it a little different. What is for me is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like those situations made me train even harder. So I was like, when I show up here, I'm not giving you a chance to try and pinpoint.
Very good.
You had to come there and watch this circle and say, right, you go so, and the rest are all you so. I wanted to separate myself so far from the others. Because if I'm not your favorite, I can't be in that same circle. And they told me that as well. Polly and those guys would tell me that. So now they say, boss, if the people's favorite get 3 wickets or 2 wickets, you can get 2 wickets too. Because he's the favorite. If he get 2, you gotta get 5. Paulie
Strong.
would say, if this man score 40, you can't score 50 and say, oh, you score 50. If this man score 40, you gotta score 80. You gotta score 100. You gotta separate yourself that far
Results.
to then force these people to say, oh gosh, I really can't say no. This is the man. So I felt like those stumbling blocks sort of mold you in such a way that you cannot accept average.
Mm-hmm.
You are now not a front runner or a favorite for people. You have to perform exceptionally
Performance
well
control.
for people to look in your direction. That has always been my drive. Like I would there's a lot of cases, it's still happening in my career today where I feel like I put a little more pressure on myself to perform because I feel, and it's just because of what I dealt with growing up, that, hey, listen, if you drop the ball, boss, we going with your goals. And that is how I felt. Like, hey, listen, as you slip or as you have an okay performance outside, so even till this day, soon, let's be like, boss, you're not going to get it right all the time. And even where the position I'm at still, I still feel like, hey, I can't drop the ball. And he would come to me just
It's a
in that
great
tournament
attitude
there.
to have.
Just in that tournament there, I was in T10, myself and Polly and Sunil. And I was furious with my performance. And them men come inside and they was like, boss, you're not going to get it all the time. They will always tell me, in cricket, you will fail more than you succeed. But it's just within me that, listen, I know I can't give people that opportunity to say, listen, we catch him now. And that's just something that is within me that I feel like you have to be aware of, because it can frustrate you, it can make you put too much pressure on yourself and you fail. But I feel as though for me, I always use that in a way where, hey, listen, you got to work your tail off. You can't be slacking.
Yeah.
It's called the champion mindset.
You know, as I was listening to him, I think we had to change the meaning of what failure is because we'll experience something. Failure is really feedback, you know.
Yeah.
Failure is really feedback. You can't change what you need to change if you don't get the feedback of failure.
Yeah.
Now, you know, in the book of John, it talks about pruning a tree before it flourishes. But pruning don't look good, and I'm sure it don't feel good either. But if you call pruning pre-flourishing, you might accept it even better. So for him, I mean, a lot of young people looking on, talent is not enough. And I've always seen the skill set of players versus the mindset of players. And from me, I'm also observing Akeal, I think one of the things, I'm not in position of a coach, but one of the things I like to see with talent is how they compete. See, talent is not rare. You just find talent. Drive around this country, you'll see talent. But you see game time.
Yeah.
You see game time. When I drive past Lara Stadium down south, and I show my son those scores, I say, son, these scores mean nothing if you don't know the situation of the game.
Yeah.
It's not a number. You make 100 with a Sam side. All right, who you play? But when you make 100 against men, back in the day, I remember Marlon Black, he was in the nets. You don't want to face him. Brentley Sama, you don't. And fellas and them, you had to pad up like if, right? They're waking you up, right? Is who you score that against. And I think one of the things I heard from him there, don't lose competitiveness either. Even when you're at number one, you're not competing against the people who coming after you, competing against the version of yourself from yesterday so that you could become a better version of yourself. And that's very commendable, that regardless of title, he still has a hunger to improve his game.
And I feel like what young players need to do as well, that helps me, is that you need to put yourself in that environment where everyone wants to achieve the same thing. Everyone has that same drive and wants that same goal. Because
The community.
And even from a club perspective, that would help me with Queen's Park, is that
Very good.
Queen's Park right now produces the most amount of national players. Whether it be, national players coming to that club as well. But I feel like that environment is so competitive, is that you done competing in training. You not only starting your competition when it's game time, you doing it from in training and in practice matches. And you facing quality. You bowling against quality, you batting against quality in training. And I feel like a lot of times they are really good players, but like the teams they are on and the players, they don't have the same drive, they don't have the same goal. Some people playing this sport for fun. Some people playing it because they love it and they want to make a career out of it. And then there's some situations where
It's a way out.
you don't have, is a way out, and there's some situation where you don't have the facilities as well. So, you're not getting to do what you want as often because of, well, it might be a community ground and it has something on that day, or you can't turn up to train because the groundsman somewhere down the road by the bar or something, and the pitch and roll. And so there's a lot of things that could stop you from training consistently in terms of batting and bowling. You can find other ways to train, but when it comes to training, the skill itself, I feel like that's where a lot of players now starting to realize, listen, if I want this goal, I had to align myself around these people, around these facilities, around this circle that could help me go forward even faster.
It's about that time, where, these conversations, we always just scratch the surface and we could go on and on and on, and I'd love to. But I can't, I don't want to close this particular show without asking, there's always a catalyst moment. There's always that moment, no matter how many challenges you have, some bigger than others. There's always that one, and normally it's the darkest one, the one where you have to emerge and recognize to yourself, I came through that, therefore I can conquer anything else. What was that? What was that moment for you?
I felt like that, I would say there was 1 year that I didn't get selected in CPL, and then playing club cricket, I broke my finger, so I was out for a while. And you would even hear people right in your circle. I remember a guy was saying, the news came back to me, and one person said, they made they said he's gone from something to nothing. And that day was enough fire that I needed. I was like, no problem. When I broke my finger in 3 places. I had screws in my finger. And, the doctor said, you don't know how it will come back. It'll come back with some sort of stiffness. It'll take X amount of time. And I was like, okay, that is how they're thinking. And that was when I was dealing with a lot of unanswered questions as well. And you start seeing people passing, like in terms of all you was playing this level, you get a setback, this person going there, this. And I felt like a lot of people, probably not the important people, I would say, not the important people, felt like, nah, that's it. But I use all those things and I said, okay, no problem. I get to see who belong in my smaller circle, when I go there. And just all that feedback was
Fuel.
just giving me that fire that I need. I went back to the doctor, Dr. Sergey. We still speak off and on. And he was like, is this the same finger? I came back quicker. I said, listen, I need a brace to put on my finger to play. And he said, listen, if you get hit on this, it's going to be bad. It's going to set you back for a longer period of time. And I was like, just give me the brace. And I had made up my mind that, listen, I going back out there. Batting, it was painful, feeling. You would still have that little fear in your mind of, if this get hit, you could be in some deep waters here. And I just, again, for me, my biggest thing is my mindset. And I feel like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been here today.
That's good.
So I feel like I have such a mindset that, listen, if this is what I want, it could have all these challenges. Yes, it will slow me down, but I'm going for it. And again, going through, as I said, important people, they were still there. They were still there. They would still pop in and check in. They would give you a little advice. They were still there. So the onus was just on the individual to say, okay, you know what, it's a step back, but this is what I want. So I felt like that period was a big step back for me. And I said, you know what, when I come back, I have to really separate myself from everyone else in terms of performances. And I didn't have any. I was struggling from Trinidad. I was not on the team. As I said, if I were to give you those reasons, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of questions that I asked that still hasn't been answered today. But I never let all those things, bother me.
You spoke
Too much.
about, as you mentioned, about the finger and the challenge. And one thing most people won't know, because, and it's something we had discussed even earlier, the fact that the chances of getting hit on the finger as a bowler are probably slim. But as a batsman, and now you consider yourself, and the world
All-rounder.
considers yourself an all-rounder. So yes, you're the number one bowler in the world, but you're an all-rounder, and that's no longer just a left arm orthodox, right? And so you basically, even another step, putting yourself literally in the firing line for something that to happen. Let's use the word testicular fortitude that must take, because it could be career ending.
Yeah.
And yet still, for love of sport, your way out and country, here you are today.
Yeah. He said two things about himself. He said hunger and talent, but we have to add mindset to that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I'm hearing in his entire story. Mentality. And I guess that's why Kobe, his whole movement is Mamba mentality. And that really speaks about the thinking that is driving the talent forward and will not take no for an answer. That's great stuff. Great stuff.
Our closing thoughts.
Akeal, thanks. Right? And I'm specifically saying thanks not only for me, because and we speaking on behalf, right, of
Speaking on behalf of all men.
right. But when we started, we spoke about people not appreciating. And I think, because I was asked Trinidadians also, not everybody, but as many, not only with sport, but different things, why sometimes you don't appreciate. And one of the number one answers I get is they don't know the story. They don't know the details behind. All they do is you turn on the TV, you see the person, whether it is sport or whatever it is. But you, Akeal, sharing your story, and here, one as a man, right? Because you're a man first, you're a human being, a man first before anything else. And then added to all the other accolades. I myself, and I'm sure everyone here and even those viewing could say now we understand you a little better and we understand what it takes. So when we look at you or any other sportsman or any other arena, it could be somebody who is a presenter, anything. It's not just, well, that person just doing that thing. It have all of these things behind it. And I'm sure, you didn't tell your full story, but a lot of what you said, I could relate to it. Somebody else could relate to it, to see even 2% of the self and realize that we not all that different. The man who's the number one is, I still have something that in me that like him, so I could aspire to that also. So I'm saying thank you and also reiterating the importance of manhood and the importance of men sharing openly.
Yeah. Strong. I would like to just continue and echo congratulations again. I'm starstruck, but they're kind of just keeping it cool, you understand, Rob? We're saying down next time number one, you understand what I mean? And that is a big story. But I always push people to significance once they have hit success. Success is I did it. Significance is I helped you to do it. And I am here in one sense in support. You said you want to take a story back to Laventille. Let's partner, just like you say in the club, you need like-minded people in the sport. You also need like-minded people in mission and vision. And that's why I would be in a circle like this of people who have determined to add value to the nation. And so when you're ready to do that, let's partner and make it happen. I'm very encouraged by your story. Keep going, flying the red, white, and black high anywhere you go of the highest standards. And God has a funny way that sometimes we say, all right, we may have moved out of Laventille, but I think that's where we get the fight from. That's where we actually get the fight from. So that mentality that he has, I am sure it has to do a lot with where he came from, and that's how we get to appreciate the whole journey and appreciate every step along the way. So congrats again.
So I want Akeal to have the last word. And Akeal, I want to say to you, like we always say on this show, we start off sometimes saying, we're not speaking on behalf of all men. But I think I want to speak on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago, whether they know it or not, that I am proud that you're Trinbagonian.
Yes, sir.
It makes me proud to be Trinbagonian. And not just your achievement as number one, but hearing your story is going to certainly leave me off this set, at least aspiring to have a mindset like yourself. That's a champion mindset. There's no doubt about it. And one of the achievements is just being number one. One of your achievements is just being a top cricketer. But there's so much more with a mindset like that. There's so much more. And if I were people, or I was living in Laventille at this moment, hearing this and hearing that you want to make a change in Laventille, I would be, more than if it's a government party passing through.
Yes.
I would be excited because you making that statement, I know it's going to happen. And I'm excited, and I echo Luke's sentiment that whatever part we can play to just be part, or to be in the room when you're on that mission, I would consider it, and I think we would all consider it an honor.
Yes.
So thank you for being on Manhood. I want you to have the last word. I just want to say that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. And you heard it all here with Akeal. So, again, as I said, you take it away.
I just want to say thanks for being on the show. And, hopefully some of the things we spoke here today, we can really put it into action, because I believe we have enough and more to fix the problems that we have, in a small country. From a sports perspective, I would start with saying, so hopefully we can all come together and do some good things and shine some light in some areas that, people have forgotten to shine the light on, because there is actually a lot of gems in those areas. And it'll be sad that, we miss those people who could probably one day, put our countries, very high on the map. So hopefully those things can be done. But thanks again for having me on the show.
I'd just like to say, not one day put you on the map, continue. Because you have put them on the map. Yeah? Put all of us on the map. This is Manhood. Johanse, Akeal, Luke. See you for the next one.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm Mary and Elbon representing for each and every ghetto youth in Trinidad and Tobago, regionally and worldwide. So we are big up manhood, spotlight, same time, alright? You want to build some dreams with me, say? One thing me a pray, get my money and build my dreams. Rep for me city and fix my scheme. System matter, so them set it. So you have to get up and I get to get a you them a dream. Get your money and build your dreams. Rep your city and fix your scheme. The system matter, so them set it. So you have to get up and I get to get a you them a dream. Everybody want more money. One of them not gonna work hard for it. And me a talk about star money. So house and land and car money. Them just a look for your pocket feed up our money. When you a look another wrong, them a take off running. Them wish them coulda take the little me above for me. Can't stop me cause them never really seen the start of me. The part of me, inside of the heart of me. The spark in me, to be what I want to be. Pain and sufferation a part of me. A masterpiece cause it's all out to me. You see me and keep the haters off of we. And we no roll nothing up in a quarter leaf. No sell my soul, not a money in the world. That a boy coulda again. Cause one thing me a pray, get my money and build my dreams. Rep for me city and fix my scheme. The system man, so them said it. So you have to get up and I get to get a youth a better dream. Get your money and build your dreams. Rep your city and fix your scheme. The system man, so them said it. So you have to get up and now, cause it goes on and on. Babylon, you better keep your distance. You talk a lot of things and no man never respond. From a little get the youth, man never get what me want. Now we are perform. Thank God we are with our wisdom. No matter the journey, we go walk the distance. And we keep on learning everything that we can. Can live at least keep your hand up. Not for them in the system can't stand us. That's why them have to see we sit down in a summer. Rastafari, not deal up in the drama. We'll be alright, got to live to see tomorrow. Some of them not have no blood in them bone marrow. Beg them a beg and them a borrow, them a borrow. Friend not your friend until your things run out. Pretend and pretend, sing it again. Cause everybody want more money. One of them not go work hard for it. And me a talk about star money. So house and land and car money. Them that's a look for your pocket feed a bar. When you want look another wrong, them a take off. Them wish them coulda take the little me above for me. Cause of me cause them never really seen the start of me. And me a pray, get my money and build my dreams. Rep for me city and fix my scheme. The system matter, so them said it. So you have to get up and I get to get a youth a better dream. Get your money and build your dreams. Rep your city and fix your scheme. The system matter, so them said it. So you have to get up and I get to get a youth them a dream. Get my money and build my dreams. Rep for me city and fix my scheme. The system matter, so them said it. So you have to get up and I get to get a youth a better dream. Get your money and build your dreams. Rep your city and fix your scheme. The system matter, so them said it. So you have to get up and I get to get a youth them a dream. Yeah, man. Big up manhood every time and on CNC3. Alright, every get a youth build a dream and not that.
Manhood, brought you in part by Reboot and Solomon's Bespoke.